the urge to buy a Danny DeVito life-size cutout, Resident Evil is back again with the sequel to the new but old-feeling 7. This is it, folks, where all those videos and memes and fan art come from. They're even making tie-in products based off Lady Maiden's blood. Okay, that sounds absolutely disgusting. What kind of sick son of a bitch will want this stuff? Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that anymore. That's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Let's talk about RE4 or whatever. If Resident Evil 7 was a return to form by bringing the series back to its scary roots, then 8 is a return to 4 with its balance of horror and action along with tone. Bit of background info for those uninitiated. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 all have the similar type of scary with a bit of camp thing going on that mostly came from the limitations of the technology at the time. But with Resident Evil 4, the scary parts, while not entirely missing, took a backseat to more action after the beginning, and that camp that was kinda dashed in before is now like a main ingredient, if that makes any sense. A good way to look at it is with Leon and the situations he finds himself in. In 2, he's a normal guy starting a new job that just happens to coincide with a zombie outbreak.
You must be the new guy. Leon. Sorry.
In 4, he's sent on a special mission to save the president's daughter by roundhouse kicking his way across a Spanish village, castle, and military base, while dropping all these memorable lines like I dropped the ball with consistent video releases. It's hard to explain, but that thing 4 had, 8 has on top of all the surface level stuff both games share. You know, small fish, big fish, weird but awesome merchants, castles, storage organization, yada yada yada. We're back in the shoes of Ethan Winters. It's been a couple months since 7, and since then our boulder-shouldered buddy Chris relocated us to Europe along with Mia and her newborn daughter Rosemary. We put the baby to bed before going downstairs and having...
Mia, get down! Mia! Mia, oh God! Chris? What the hell?
Sorry, Ethan.
No! What? Why?
We wake up from a car wreck in the middle of nowhere and eventually find a village and this castle that's giving off major vampire vibes, but we'll get to that later. We explore a bit and it looks like something terrible went through this place, but nobody's around, so whatever it was seems to have passed. So we should be good. Oh my god, 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 I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Ignore that. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna... Damn, this is a nice-ass scrapbook. Shit.
The man is of no real use to anyone else, and my daughters do so love entertaining foreigners. Furthermore, I can assure you if you entrust the mortal to House Dimitrescu, my daughters and I shall deliver to you the finest
Way ugly! I wanna see!
This is where the plot really starts. Here we meet Mother Miranda, who's the game's big antagonist, and her 4 lords, each one having their own unique personalities, locations, goons, all that stuff. And don't just focus on the big vampire Dami Mommy, because while she was the main focus in the lead up to release, she's not really in it a ton, and some of the other baddies are just as, if not more interesting. Hello? Hello? Yo! where's my horny pan? As I was saying, there's a lot more to this game than the village's resident milk truck. Don't get me wrong, for the little she's in the game, she's great, and exploring her castle was a blast, but I think the marketing did a bit of a disservice to the other bad guys. Aside from Lady D, we have Salvatore Moreau, a fishman living in an underwater shantytown. His introduction was pretty funny, and what the fuck? Donna Beneviento, who has this doll, or is the doll, or something with the doll, I don't know. She lives here. I don't want to talk about it. Play the game and find out why I don't want to talk about it. And lastly, Carl Heisenberg, who's just a really fun character. The second he opened his mouth, I was all in on this dude. In short, imagine Magneto played by Nicolas Cage. That's Heisenberg.
Brother, shut the f*** up!
From here on out, we have to find a way to take out the 4 lords and Mother Miranda. Also, probably should have said this earlier, they have our infant child, so we should probably get her back. After the story starts rolling, we get to the real game. We explore the village, progressing the plot puzzle by puzzle, enemy by enemy, with every enemy you kill dropping lei that can be used to buy upgrades for your weapons, new weapons, blueprints for consumables, and consumables. You get all this stuff from a very eccentric, jolly individual known as the Duke, who occasionally helps Ethan out when he's not hibernating. The gameplay is very similar to 7, with a couple of new weapons, and I would also say it feels a bit smoother, which helps with the more action-focused style. Something else I liked was that really early in the game you learn that you can barricade doorways to get some protection from groups of enemies, essentially locking yourself in to just try and survive. You do it like 2 more times and it takes up like 5 minutes of the whole game. I'm positive I'm the only one who thought about this section for more than 10 seconds, but I think there's some potential fun to be mined from this sort of house defense thing. That feeling I got when shit hit the fan and I was trapped in this tiny house as a last resort while hordes of abominations try to break through and nom on my hand some more was stressful as hell. It also reminded me a lot of another sort of house defense section with a certain Spaniard and former Raccoon City police officer. The village is a semi-open area that starts off really small with objects and doors blocking a lot of the paths, but as you play you can slowly unlock everything and really go anywhere. The real meat of the game is the stuff having to do with the lords, so the village is more of a hostile hub you can go to between the boss areas, but it works pretty well. Every time you go, there's always something new to check out or come back to when you have the right gear. By the end of the game, I cleared out every house and took any shiny thing that wasn't bolted down, leaving me with nothing but blue. But remember, the village isn't the main attraction. That would be the lords in their respective areas. Lady D's castle and Heisenberg's factory are noticeably bigger and more complex than the other two, with Moreau's fishing hamlet being a step down from them, and Donna being a step down from that step down. Which isn't to say any of these areas are bad though. Every one of these places look great and have new things to deal with. Lady D and Heisenberg's areas are super Resident Evil, intertwined, multi-layered locations with environmental puzzles that don't really make sense but who gives a shit, and recurring mini-bosses. Moreau's section isn't as complex but really goes big with the theatrics, and Donna's house, while being the shortest of the 4, was a very welcome change of pace and might have been the scariest thing in the entire Resident Evil franchise. Again, every area isn't the same length, but they're all good and look amazing. Graphically, everything I said about 7 applies to this one, but I'd like to put more emphasis on the environments. Though character models are still crazy good, I really like how the locations are more out there than the previous game's Southern Home, Swampy Home, Boat, and Salt Mine. I think this game takes place in Romania, and this time you get the village, this ornate castle, dungeons, cellars with what I hope is wine up to your knees, and this really cool factory. The visual variety is much improved and there's more places than what I showed, but I really think new players should see them when they play the game. So looking back on Village, Capcom pretty much fixed my main issues from 7, and I don't really have any major complaints this time around. 7 didn't have enough enemy variety, which 8 fixed, and 7 lost a lot of steam in the last third, which 8 does not. The last third is rock solid, and the last hour within it really takes it up a notch and elevates the game in hindsight. There's a couple of small things here and there that I'm kinda meh on. The game starts kinda slow, the story has this really big problem that could have been solved in 4 seconds if the characters just talked, and I think it could have been a bit more open in how you choose to progress. Like initially when I got this key I thought I had a choice of which order I get to take the lords in, but it isn't really like that. More choice would have been nice, but I'm not gonna kill the game for it. What's probably the biggest issue is one that I didn't have but I could easily see being a deal breaker for other people. This game isn't really big on horror. They changed the direction to have more action and I think they struck a good balance, so I enjoyed it. But if you played 7 and really loved it stripping back all the over-the-top bullshit from 6 and being scary again, to then have the sequel start to go back down that same path it did after 4 where it was just way too much, I could see it being disappointing. But for me, I thought it was great. My total playtime was something like 14 hours for the first playthrough, about the same as 7, and I would say I was having more fun a lot of the time, mostly because the last half didn't torpedo into boredom. The game ended on a high note and set up some stuff for the sequel, so I should probably be excited, but something is just kinda keeping me reserved. This is all just speculation that could age like milk, considering RE9 hasn't even been announced or is in serious development, but this game and Resident Evil 4 struck a very fine balance when it comes to horror and action. Resident Evil 5 was a bit much, and Resident Evil 6 was way too much. A part of me thinks Capcom is going to want to up the insanity and we'll get something more akin to 6. Again, I haven't seen or heard anything, but I hope they don't go overboard with the explosions and the boulders and all that stuff. I'm also just as, if not more so, worried about how they're going to find a way to highlight the Roman numeral for 9 in the title. Maybe the subtitle will have an X in there somewhere, I don't know. Oh yeah, the credit song. Not really a banger, but it's very good. If you want a banger, take a trip to Donna's basement.
Are we serving breakfast all day? Let's peep this out.
So that's the video. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see anything in the future, be sure to subscribe here, and or follow me on Twitter for updates. Sorry about the wait for this one, I'll try to get the next review out in a more timely manner. For what it is, haven't really decided yet, I'm playing a couple of games, but hopefully it'll be out sooner. Later.